Moving on to the next topic. A Pioneer Press analysis of registered lobbyists found that since 2002 alone, at least 5 dozen legislators have registered to lobby their former colleagues once their election certificates expired. Their ranks include 3 former Senate Majority Leaders, former House and Senate Minority Leaders, former committee chairs, former lawmakers who worked for the state government and then turned to lobbying, and a host of others. The lawmakers turned lobbyists are equally likely to be Democrats as Republicans. Neil, here's your resolution. Restrictions should be placed on current and former legislators to prevent them from transitioning quickly into lobbying their former colleagues. Pro or con?
You know, I'm definitely con on this one because, first of all, any kind of arbitrary limit you put on it, they're going to end up there anyway. And I would just, frankly, I would just assume that you show your true colors, you know, and I mean, think about the lobbyists who we all suspect are going to get, or excuse me, all the elected representatives who are going to get cushy jobs. Like, for example, there's always jokes down where I'm at in Rochester about the retiring lobbyists getting, you know, or retiring legislators getting Mayo lobbyist jobs. You know, I guess in a way it's kind of a free market issue. If once you leave the legislature, once your election certificate's invalid, there really shouldn't be any restriction on what you can and can't do. I mean, you have to identify yourself. People know who you are, and I think whether you wait a year or 5 years or nothing, it's still up to voters to understand, you know, how lobbying affects, you know, how the process happens, you know, in St. Paul. So for me, I guess restrictions I don't see how restrictions actually stop the inevitable from happening, and so I definitely take a con on this.
Karl, what's your take?
Yeah, I'll take con as well. I mean, that's what I think, but it's kind of like the homophobic bakers that we talked about with the Indiana law, right? You're part of this law, you're part of this group, and you're immediately, you know, the antagonist. You're immediately vilified because you're a member of this group. Lobbyists are that same way. That you hear lobbyists and you think, oh, well, these guys are greasing palms and they're fighting for somebody's views at state capitol or at the federal capitol, and that's inherently bad. I don't think that the title of lobbyist is an inherently bad title or job or role. I think it's actually a uniquely American title and job and role that we need to have people lobbying, people and groups lobbying our legislators daily. The problem exists when those lobbyists expect handouts. They expect protections for their group. They expect money to flow back to them. That's where the root of the problem is. It's not that campaign donations go to candidates or lobbyists lobby legislators. The problem is money flowing back to private groups and private people. So I don't think that legislators should have to, you know, I think they should be able to transition quickly to becoming lobbyists if they want to. But I think if you really want to get to what the problem is in this scenario, is let's stop the flow of money back to our lobbyists' hands and back to the groups they represent.
Yeah, I think this falls, I agree with both you guys. I think this falls into the same category as campaign finance, where money is demonized as the source of all evil, right? When in point of fact, the problem is power. You know, it's not that people are down there transitioning from being a legislator to a lobbyist that creates the problem. The problem is that there's something there to lobby for. There's something there for money to buy. Government has the ability to initiate force against individuals to control our lives, and the person who has the most access and the most money gets to steer that wheel. That's the problem, and I don't know how restricting lobbyists really solves that problem, as opposed to restricting government itself, which really seems to be a higher ideal.
But is access the problem, Walter? I mean, because I don't think it's the access, because we all have varying levels of access. Every individual, every voter has some degree of access. And if you represent a large group of people, you may have a quicker path to that legislator. The problem is what you expect or what you get in return for that access. You shouldn't get anything, right? I mean, ultimately, you shouldn't get any special protections or money for your group. But it's not having more money than the next person that's the problem. It's getting special treatment. which I think we've seen in a few cases here, is the ultimate root of our society's problems and of government's flaws, in my opinion.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the RLC Minnesota YouTube channel. And if you'd like to join the fight for individual rights, limited government, and free markets, become a member of the RLC at rlcminnesota.org.